and the goal is to bring you your next favorite band.
Thanks for having us. This is a very cool show.
Yeah, so through many iterations, and we finally landed on the weirdest one by far.
Yeah, simple feelings, and boom, you got a sound.
I remember this one time, I had been writing some songs, and I went out. I'm just going right in on this story. I went out, and so I was.
The story's longer than the song itself. We'll go ahead and play it.
And listen, it's going to be everybody's favorite band. Welcome to your next favorite band. That's both the show title and our promise to you. We here at Stereophilia Studio are tireless in our pursuit of finding incredible, genre-defiant artists who are either a hot, up-and-coming band or a group that has been delivering for years but have flown under the radar. This episode, we bring you the first half of the highlights from the 2023 Musikfest Daily Livestreams, recorded live from Godfrey Daniels. Each month, we will bring you live streams, audio podcasts, and perhaps even a live concert where you can listen to the stories and hear the music of artists personally curated by us based on what we feel will be worthy of your time. Be sure to subscribe and tune in to each episode because the possibilities are endless and you never know who will be your next favorite band. Day 1 of the daily live stream during Musikfest from Godfrey Daniels. And our guests are from Godfrey Daniels, Ramona LaBarre, and from ArtsQuest, Ryan Hill and Addy Young. Hello, everybody. I am your host, Philip Reese, and this is your next favorite band. And it's the most wonderful time of year, isn't it, Ramona?
Yes, it absolutely is. Right here in the Christmas city.
In the Christmas city, we have our own kind of Christmas in August, if you will. We have our 10-day free, ungated music festival called Musikfest. They definitely workshopped that name for a very long time.
They did. Is this the 30th?
40th. 40th anniversary.
I'm not that old.
So super excited for that. As always, a wonderful lineup of, I heard from Patrick Brogan the other night, we did our preview show, 457 bands this year.
Wow, that's amazing.
Across 10 days, 15 free stages, one headliner stage. And it's we talk about it every time. Like, there's a reason why we seem to be so enamored with it. It's incredibly well run.
It is.
It's got obviously the great music, but also great food, nice drinks, camaraderie. It's safe. It's clean.
Includes visual arts.
Yes.
The vendors, the crafters.
Includes comedy.
Yes.
So it does have obviously music in the name, but it supports many different types of art and performance. Dance often comes up as well. That there's last 3 years there's been a drag show, which is very, very cool. So, and in fact, our guests from ArtsQuest this afternoon are going to talk about also the develops being made in the area of accessibility and inclusion for people who might have special needs.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's great
so
stuff.
Important.
Right off the top here, let's just say thank you again. I mean, it's so wonderful to have a very, very cool and very safe space that's close to the festival grounds to be able to do this every day. So thank you so much for letting us.
It's our pleasure, Philip. We're happy to have you here. Thank
you. To post up here. So yeah, no, this is wonderful.
Our little empty room.
Ty Ballone's the lead singer. And he came during the live stream last year, the daily. Okay. He was on one of the days, played a live song for us and had a great interview. And I shared this story with him that day. As I was walking around Musikfest, it was probably 2015, 14 maybe. And I just saw him and I recognized him. And I wasn't I was nothing. I just was a patron. And I just walked up to him and I was like, hey, you're the Groove Merchants, right? And he was like, yeah. And I guess, I don't know what age he would have been, but he was obviously much younger than even.
Was he a teenager then?
Possibly. Yeah. And he sounds like this then, too.
Yes.
And it was his mother that was with him. I didn't know, but so she starts like beaming with pride and all this other stuff. And I just thought it was such a fun story. But another fun thing I wanted to mention is they have this phrase for this, so don't at me. It's called stank face. So you can see him as he sings. He kind of gets into the spirit and kind of makes that I smelled bad cheese face. And so they call it Stank Face Friday. that they will actually take pictures that were taken of them with those types of faces during like concerts and performances and post it on a Friday to just kind of promote
that's
whatever
really
they've got
funny.
going on. And today being a Friday and this being opening night and a 9-piece out there, it's going to be the stankiest faced Friday in the history of faces. But
Yeah, they played here too
that's awesome.
years ago.
It would be a
I'm
great
sure
space for
The
them,
first
for
time I heard him
sure.
sing was he had to be a teenager. So did they all come from Bethlehem, or has he built the band since he left?
That whole band formed in Kutztown University.
Okay.
And
he grew up here, right?
yes.
Ty? Yeah.
Yes. And so they have stayed together and then added to. And it's just gone from there. And I think their sound is amazing.
Look inside, see what you can find, and where my heart lies. You are the death of me. You are the death of me in my eyes.
Sorry, I was just laughing. There's always that moment where someone knows they're walking in front of a camera and they just think if they shrug their shoulders a little bit, it makes them invisible. Anyway, and then they like scoot a little bit faster. But anyway, it just cracks me up.
Actually, one of our purposes for this day, or a way that we try to utilize it to the maximum, is to maybe have artists that people aren't quite so familiar with. And I'll say even artists who have been on our stage but didn't draw a whole lot of
Sure.
people. but we
Perhaps
put them
maybe
out
someone's
there.
next favorite band?
Yes, exactly. So, we put them in on a festival stage, and people are there.
Of course.
And then they come and
Yes.
see them again. So
That's
the
awesome. What a great idea. So before closing out the website, I always want to bring up this part where you can become a member, which is a huge supporting endeavor, and it's something that really helps a nonprofit, which that's probably something we should make sure we always point out.
Sure.
Godfrey Daniels, a nonprofit listening room venue.
Yes.
And always, like you just talked about, because it's a nonprofit, you can choose to make the decisions around bringing on the right artists, not the ones that would necessarily
Right.
sell the most.
True, it's about art.
You'd like to sell the most,
Well-
but it's more about bringing the right musicians in.
Art versus strictly entertainment.
Yes.
Okay. So yes, Godfrey's is going into its 48th season next
Yes.
month. We're making plans for a big celebration for the 50th anniversary in a few years.
Awesome.
The membership program has been going on since the early 70s. And the organization, the venue, is supported by memberships in much the same way as
Yeah.
public television and radio.
Yeah.
So we rely on our members.
And you can see here it's as low as $60,
Yes.
which is $5 a month.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there.
Yeah, and some premiums. It's a pretty big ticket discount if you're a member.
Sure.
$4 off a ticket. And
Yeah.
the higher level membership you are, the more tickets you can apply that
Right.
discount to.
But just knowing that the organization could count on certain money is huge. And then if ticket sales generate more revenue, that's when you have special things going on. But if you know you at least are able to operate with a certain budget, it's huge. So if you're out there and you care about music and you want to be able to support the venue, become a member.
Come visit the club, and then you will want to become a member.
That's exactly
it's having
right.
the experience in this room.
Yeah.
This magic room.
Artists say that too. Like they when I interview them and they have played here, everyone talks about how special a place it is. I mean, it is very intimate in that you're going to be performing, it's just a very short, you could almost shake hands with the front row
Yes.
if it's set up that way. But the acoustics are special, the energy is special. You obviously, the quilt is a very special thing. And
It has a story behind it, and I won't talk about that right now. You'll have to come to a show to find it.
But the one cool thing that I always like to point out is stitched in it is an actual song, How Legends
Yes.
Are Made.
Yep.
By John Gorka.
Yes, correct.
So all of that is kind of like, let's even tell like people to go buy the book that tells
Yes.
those stories.
Yeah, the Welcome to Godfrey Daniels. It's our history, and it was written by Dave Fry. He
Yes.
worked on it starting in 2015, and we released it last December. And it is a treasure of a book.
Yeah, Dave Fry, one of the founding members of
Yes.
Godfrey Daniels, probably on the Mount Rushmore of Bethlem musicians.
Yes. Yeah, that's Dave.
So yeah, definitely all of that would be great. And so we learned become a member of Godfrey Daniels. And then after becoming a member, then you can come to the club multiple times after
Yes.
that to see great music all year round.
Yeah.
How'd I do?
Thank you. Great. You covered it.
Like a hype man. Anything else you wanted to promote, touch on?
And
Make sure?
actually watch for new artists in our coming season.
That's
Say
so
that.
cool.
We're adding comedy to the programming. We're looking at hip hop.
Very cool.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Really exciting.
Yeah, that is great. I know that's something we've had a lot of conversations about, so happy to kind of hear that's taken shape. Cool. Well, Ramona, again, first and foremost, thank you for all of the great opportunities to set up here.
Philip, you're so welcome. This is, you're such a friend to the music community and to the artists. It means so much. It means more. It's hard to put it into words.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Your support and the support of other people like yourself who are doing this kind of work.
Wow. Well, thank
you.
you.
Of the generosity of your heart. Yeah, it means a lot.
Oh, well, thank you for that. And it's the least I could do. Like, they're doing such wonderful, brilliant things, and would just want to shine a light on it however I could.
Yeah, we're fortunate, aren't we?
We are.
To know these artists
Yes.
and to be able to work with them.
Yeah. Addy and I were just talking about that before. So this is kind of a great transition, too. You talked about comedy. You just referenced, kind of how special the town is and,
Yes.
and that kind of stuff. So managing director of Godfrey Daniels, Ramona LaBarre, thank you so much. And everybody get out there and support the organization in any ways that you're able to. Volunteering is another way to do it.
Yes.
If the other stuff isn't there for you, you can always volunteer your time. That's always huge as well.
Come have fun with us.
Yeah, and then now we're going to bring up Ryan Hill and Addy Teal-Young. Did I get it right? Yep. Nice. ArtsQuest, programming department. Anyway, thank you. Ryan Hill, Senior Director of Programming. Did I get that right?
Yep.
And Addison Teal-Young.
That's me.
And I saw Programming Specialist
Yes.
and Comedy and Cinemas. Or is that like an older thing?
It's programming specialist with comedy and experiential.
Oh, very
Yeah.
cool. Mm-hmm. So we have a couple different topics to touch on. And basically, I heard last year, which probably wasn't the first year, but this first year I became more aware of it, where there was a lot of effort to make sure we had accessibility and inclusion zones for things, whether that was wheelchair accessibility, sign language interpretation, and the areas for sensory where you needed it to be a little bit either quieter or less people or whatever, so that in case people just had a need or had a child who had a need, they could go to those spaces and have that done. So I just wanted to kind of shine a light on that, and then also here, it sounded like there were some new things for this year, and then maybe even some prep for next year, so I'll let you guys take it from there.
Sure. One of the new things for this year that we're particularly excited about is on the Levitt Pavilion, the America Platz. We have a listening lounge that the Accessible Festivals has put together, and this listening lounge basically allows for people who are hearing impaired to still experience the music. There's these I think they're called sub packs. They're wearable pieces of technology that allow you to feel the music in a way, and so to be able to experience it, to still kind of be part of that. So that listening lounge is there for the entirety of the festival. Right. So and anybody can stop by and do that.
Yeah.
That's one of the bigger new things. We've also we are Leah Barron, who heads up Accessible Festivals. She has been our accessibility advisor throughout this year, and she's been leading a task force that will be kind of going through Musikfest 2023 to make a lot of recommendations Musikfest 2024.
That's awesome.
We've already incorporated some things, like you'll notice at a lot of platzes there's a grass mat that allows wheelchairs to access those stages much better than maybe they had been able to in the past. Our inclusion zones are going; those have carried over for the past few years or so.
Again, kudos to you all for recognizing that area of improvement potentially and kind of attacking it, and it's really cool to see.
We have, again, Accessible Festivals, their role in this has been paramount. It all started with, working with them on a Musikfest Cafe show, talking about a little bit more. And then, accessibility has been a big topic at ArtsQuest for many years now. And so that and safety are kind of our number one is safety, number 1A is accessibility, as far as making sure that those are our priorities for the festival.
Yeah, no, I mean it is. It's definitely it's apparent the intentional acts there. It's very, very cool. And did I hear too? There's one of those inclusion zones or what have you is. It's far from the Festplatz stage, but you'll be able to put on headphones and listen to Festplatz stage?
Yes, so I'm pretty sure that we've got that going on. So it's not terribly far. It's across the creek.
But you're not in that
Platz. But you're not right there.
Hot, sweaty pile of humans.
So if you want,
which again, a lot of people are into that, but a lot of people probably want to be into the music, but can't be that. Yeah.
This year the temperatures are down. I don't know how hot they'll be. They'll be sweaty, but they won't be hot. But yeah, they you will be able to put on headphones and hear whatever they basically have these great headphones at the inclusion zones that have multiple channels. One of the channels will be whatever the closest stage is. Another channel will be kind of like calming ocean sounds, something like that. Or another would just be kind of like white noise. They're fantastic, and it's just a great way to disconnect or connect in a way that might be better suited for your needs.
Sure. Yeah. The other side of this is you're both involved in the comedy offerings yourselves. You're both comedians, right?
I was.
Yeah. You're being funny or
no?
Because that would have been a hilarious way to go about that.
Now you see why I'm not anymore.
I still am.
Yes. But anyway, let's just say this: it's back and better than ever.
Yeah.
Because there's offerings each night of each weekend.
Yes.
And then there's a special one for members only, so another push for a nonprofit that could benefit from membership. You get perks with membership.
Oh, totally do.
And it's like a headliner that's, So anyway, let's let you talk about that. Talk about the comedy offerings.
Why don't you take it?
Sure. So yeah, Comedy Platz is super exciting. We're over at the Ice House, and we have comedians coming from here in the Valley, from New York, from Philly. We even have a comedian coming in from Canada this year. So it's a great time to see just so many different performers.
Didn't you invent a comedy show as well, like a game show?
I did. We're not doing it. I should do that again. It was called I'm Probably Reading Into This, the game show of overanalysis. So.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you're agonizing over that one.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I think that the ability to offer all of these different options are tremendous, because for some people they want to come down to a festival, but they're not into music for 12 hours. But so maybe it would be like, oh, we'll go see music in the afternoon and comedy at night. Could be a nice thing. Anything else to promote? Anything else that you want to make sure people are aware of for ArtsQuest? Maybe the membership. Like, there's a lot of perks to being a member, which includes things like, you get that shuttle from north side to south side for free. There's certain bathrooms that are member accessible. There's shorter lines at some of the bars. But there's lots of other cool things in there.
Yeah, one of the things that we brought back from last year that we're doing under the experiential banner is on the night of the fireworks, we have something we call sparklers and sparkling wines. We have this section of the library, of City Hall, that area. It's a Stott Platz, but there's, a couple, grassy sections that are definitely prime seating for the fireworks. And if you buy a ticket to this, you get to taste all those wines. You get a dessert from Dinky's ice cream parlor.
Cool. Like right across the street.
Exactly. And then you also get exclusive access to this great party. Just bring a chair. And last year we did this, and the wines were fantastic. So it's a great way to wrap up your Musikfest in kind of a nice chill way. And also, there's always that rush to figure out where you're going to watch the fireworks from. And if you don't think of it enough ahead of time, then suddenly you're
going to find nothing.
You're in Easton hoping it's going to work out. So that is a great spot to do that from.
Yeah, no, that's a great perk there as well. So thank you for sharing that. And Ryan and Addy, thank you so much for sharing all of the very special details going on this year. And everybody go check out the comedies options there each weekend. It's very cool stuff. And also still free, part of the festival.
Oh, yeah, completely free.
Yeah,
completely free.
And the only one is that one member one, but go be a member.
Yeah.
Too many reasons to become a member. So anyway, thanks so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Day 2 of the Musikfest Daily Livestreams from Godfrey Daniels. Today we have Director of Marketing of Historic Bethlem, Craig Larimer, and Festival Rookie, Jeff Wentz. Hello everybody, I am your host, Philip Reese, and this is your next favorite band. I feel weird saying that because normally my co-host David, we break that up between the two of us, and it just doesn't feel right this way. David, I miss you. 2 great guests today. So we have, starting on our left, your right, Director of Marketing for Bethlem, Historic Bethlem Museums and Sites.
Very well done. Yes, correct.
Worked on that all night. Craig Larimer, and then Festival Rookie Jeff Wentz. And Steelworkers Polka Band, the festival was founded on polka. And so it's kind of our duty to make sure it remains a part of the festival, and you should go check it out. I always say, go grab a beer and a bratwurst and go sit in the polka tent and pay your respects.
Perfect.
And Robbie Lawrence, who is the head of that, is such a wonderful kind of steward of that history. and just has kept it going, and is kind of the he used to refer to himself as the Prince of Polka, and now he felt better that he kind of maybe got a promotion to King of Polka of at least the Lehigh Valley, if not broader. But anyway, but here's some Steelworkers Polka.
Everybody sing.
Yeah.
You know the words.
And yet, you can hear there's a good number of people actually singing, because that's how much this music was around for the beginning of the festival, and you know, a lot of other things that went on around town. Do you have anything to add for that? Because like you,
I mean, I remember, you know, when you landed at Musikfest, that was usually the first stop.
Sure.
And, you know, had sort of a kitschy cultural significance that really did it's Musikfest. It just sounds German. It sounds, you know, Oompa. It sounds Oktoberfest, even though it's August Fest. But
you're right.
There's just something about it. There's an attraction and an allure to that style of music. It's always associated with the festival.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Absolutely. What I loved is Jeff was with me for last night, and he was like, as we were like walking down to the stage, and I was kind of giving him more of a walk around before we actually went up to one of the stages. We were talking about different things like the Spotify playlist and the app and all this different stuff, and he was now finally in the mix of it. And I'll let you tell the story, but the one thing I wanted to point out here was, he was saying, I kind of just wish the only recommendation I had for the app was if I could search by, like, I want brass, you know, horns.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, well, good news. I got you. Because last night was the Groove Merchants.
Yeah.
And then today there's Shamar Allen and Matt Anderson. I was like, we got horns for you. And tomorrow is the Rumble. Holy smokes, is that a horn atomic blast?
They're on my list.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. That was a very cool recommendation. But the good news is I have that same music taste, and so you're definitely going to get
horns and organs. Sign me up.
Yep.
You know, if I see that, just get a little bit of that. Sign me up.
Mm-hmm. Let's stick with Musikfest. We can talk through that. So we have Festival Rookie and Festival Veteran. So would love to just kind of just talk about like the, you know, maybe we'll even start with the evolution of the festival over time. Like, so what did you see kind of like, as you experienced it year after year, the changes and such, and the directions they've gone in and stuff like that, if you don't mind sharing a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was in high school. It was 1984, and I heard that there was this thing going on downtown, and Musikfest, you know, okay.
Yep.
So a bunch of us, I was playing soccer at Freedom High School, loaded into somebody's car, and went over and parked somewhere. It wasn't like it was today. I think we parked on Main Street or maybe Spring Street. It was like, we walked a couple blocks. And it was Fest Platz is what we arrived at that tent, and there was a polka band, and maybe the chicken lady was doing her chicken dance. It was 1984.
Right.
And I think the headliner that year was Don McLean at the band shell, which is now where the Moravian dormitories are, and sort of that big grassy area, with that little offshoot of the Monocacy Creek.
Right.
But what I remember about it was just a lot of beer. I remember a lot of open containers and a lot of people having a great time. And there we were in high school, like, you know, we just got off a 2-a-day soccer training practice, and we were thirsty, but I don't think any of us were really willing to risk, you know, that sort of thing. And I think the soccer coach was actually there. Like, we bumped into him, so it was a good thing that we weren't. Right. But it was a lot of fun just walking around and seeing all these people inhabiting this space right in our downtown district. It was awesome.
And this is probably something you're the most equipped to handle the answer to. Is it is based on Moravian tradition of bringing in local music, local food, and local beer to be consumed by the community in all senses of that words. And so it's one of these things where we didn't, you know, one day say, hey, let's create this 450 plus band, you know, extravaganza over 10 days. It started as a Moravian tradition of just simply bringing the community out to share all of that and stories and camaraderie and all that kind of stuff, which that still holds, but it now is, you know, bathed in incredible music discovery opportunities.
Yeah, and it might have been just, I mean, if memory serves, and it's foggy and a distant memory, but I mean, it just seemed like there was a lot of polka music and maybe some folk.
Yes.
You know, maybe the kind of stuff you'd hear here in
Right.
Godfrey Daniels.
That's everything I've heard too. Is
And but much smaller scale, just a couple of stages and just a couple of offshoot, smaller solo performers, which were quite nice, and which is the thing I think I love most about the festival.
The thing I observed yesterday, just kind of walking around, it seems like that feel is still here, even though it's much larger. You know, seeing the high school kids, you know, coming down just to do something, probably don't know any of the bands, may not even really enjoy maybe listening to a lot of the bands, but it was something to do. And then seeing families, just, you know, little tiny kids. I think I was telling Phil about the best quote of the night was, I think we were watching Groove Merchants, and this like little 5-year-old barefoot comes running past me, and I hear a mother behind me going, "Just remember where your family is." And I was like, "This is fantastic. This is you know, it's here for everybody to enjoy," and it really is. It's a really nice environment. I love how everything is spread out. You know, just seeing all the different types of people come to enjoy the music, it's really, really cool.
Yeah, you're right about that.
It's just great because finally people started to get it that it's a very, very special experience. And
it's almost 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's not to be missed.
Yeah. It's a long thing, too. It's not like a weekend festival where we're out of town that weekend. If you're away, if you're on vacation, you could catch the beginning or catch the end, and it's just sort of before the school year begins, so it's sort of a last hurrah for a lot of people to enjoy the remains of their summer. Perfect time.
Well, and trying to explain to people where I was going this weekend, like, well, what are you doing? So I'm going up to Bethlem, Pennsylvania for a music festival. Like, oh, is it like a day or two? I said, no, I think it's like 2 weeks or like 11 days. They're like, what? Again, it's free. Like, what? And I'm like, how many bands are there? Like, I think there's like 450 bands. How the heck did they do that?
Yeah,
like, I don't know. I've never been. I'll tell you when I get back.
How are we doing, by the way?
I'm really, really impressed. I mean, it's been fantastic. Last night we had a blast. I'm really looking forward to today. And
that's awesome. I'm glad you're having a good time.
Yeah,
I mean, it's almost irresistible, I got to say. And there are some people who aren't into it. Like, okay, well then stay away. But the people who are into it, and you know, there's the traffic and there's the tourists and all that. And it's like, what are they doing in our town? Well, that's not exactly the attitude you want to have.
No.
You want to be welcoming and attract tourists and visitors.
Which, let's talk about that. So, historic Bethlehem museums and sites.
Well done. You were 2 for 2. That's pretty good.
Is this wonderful organization that ensures that everything is, you know, not only maintained and preserved, but also encouraged to go experience. And that's now your role, is to make sure people are aware of what's there, when it's available, and any kind of special programming, which there's some cool stuff going on this week.
Yeah, that's perfectly put. I mean, you just did half of my job for me, so thanks, Phil. Yeah, I mean, I started in January, and just before I started, and I'm from here. I mean, I grew up here, and I'm all about it. This is my community.
Sure.
I have a sense of ownership. It's like it's my home. Yeah. And we're also members of Central Moravian Church, which is a big part of the community. It is the community. They established the community.
Yep.
So I started in January, and before I did, a friend of ours had this thing called Putztown, which was just a collection of small, not only nativity scenes, but then these other strange little assemblies of miniature, you know, people and stories and trains and, you know, fairy tales and all these things. I took my brother to see this fascinating exhibition by Jim Wilden, who's a good friend of ours. Took my brother, and I said to Glenn, have you ever been inside the Moravian Museum or the Gemeinhaus on Church Street? It's the oldest log structure, the largest log structure in Bethlehem, and one of the largest and longest operating in the country.
Right.
And, you know, my brother's 56, and he said, I've never been inside the building. And I said, that's the problem, and that's the problem I want to try to address.
Right.
I want people, not only people from the outside who are coming in, folks like you, Jeff, but people from Bethlehem who just don't know the story, don't know they're welcome, don't know they're invited, didn't think it was for them. Want them to know their doors are open. And come look at the museums, come learn the story, come learn about these Moravians who, they were town builders, they were craftsmen, they were creative, they had music, they had culture, they wanted to educate everyone.
Yeah.
You know, men and women.
Yep. Yeah, one of the very first ones to do
Very
that.
progressive group of people who settled here. They were Protestants, pacifists. They didn't participate in the Revolutionary War. They stood on the sidelines and watched what was going on. And then eventually, when independence was declared, they took the side of the winners, which was great. But
Smart move.
It's an incredible story, and their buildings and their heritage is still here. So we want people to step into history, learn about it, reflect on it, and understand why it's important.
Yeah, like that. The lower area where the festival normally goes on, I shouldn't say it that way, where the majority of the festival does go on, is normally empty, and it's just grass, and it's all of these amazing historic structures that were part of the original town, the original community.
That colonial industrial quarter, is that what you're referring to? Yeah. And that is really amazing, and I encourage you to check it out while you're here, Jeff. That's the country's first industrial park. I mean, there was a sawmill, tinsmith, oil mill, grist mill, spring house, waterworks, where they had plumbing, take potable water from the spring and ported it up to the center of the city using plumbing as a place where people could come and get their water.
In the 1700s.
Just middle of the 18th century we're talking about.
Oh, wow.
So a pretty progressive group of people,
in every
industrious. And the colonial industrial quarter has the tannery is still standing. These buildings are still standing, and they're in good condition. And it is our job to continue to raise money, awareness, tell the story, and to maintain these buildings as a place people can come and reflect and learn and understand where we came from. And it's essential.
Yeah. And so I understand that we have a very, very special opportunity with the UNESCO World Heritage Site possibility. There's only how many in the world?
Or
in the United States?
There are 24 in the United States. We're talking about locations like the Grand Canyon, Yosemite National Park, Statue of Liberty. There are only
Golden
two.
Gate Bridge.
There are only two in the state of Pennsylvania. It's Independence Hall in Philadelphia and Frank Lloyd Wright's Falling Water in the western part of the state, Fayette County. So we would be the 25th in the United States. It's pretty significant.
No, big time,
So,
and it's just Bethlem, right? It's the historic area, but it's basically the town.
It's the Moravian settlement of Bethlehem, is what it is. And we would be, we're working very closely with Herrenhut in Germany, and we're working with Grace Hill in Northern Ireland. They're all Moravian settlements who would be joining an existing World Heritage Site, which is in Christiansfeld, Denmark. So that's the plan, is that we would all go in as a cluster.
Nice.
And we're in the evaluation stage right now. We have submitted a dossier that is a complete explanation and justification for why we should be considered a World Heritage Site. Oh, wow. It's in their hands. It's in UNESCO's hands. They're going through policies and procedures to either grant us approval or tell us we need to do a little more work.
You guys were keeping quiet just because you didn't even know if we'd make the cut. But recently we did kind of we've overcome a bunch of hurdles. That it's not like it's still unknown if it will happen, but we've made it farther than probably anybody had even maybe dreamed of but had hoped for.
We're feeling really good about our chances, and in February the United States government gave us the green light, gave us the nomination. So the United States government feels that we deserve it, which is rather significant.
I was going to say that. You kind of need it.
They say, they deserve to be on this list, so that's pretty significant. So we feel pretty good about our chances.
Sure, how exciting.
But we have. We're probably going to find out in late spring, early summer of 2024, and then we have a lot of work to do because with that would come a huge obligation to actually make that colonial industrial quarter, to make it a place that's inhabited by get dressed up into the costume, make people feel welcome and have those sorts of attractions, which we do.
I was going to say, let's talk about that because we do have that. There's the blacksmith that I think a lot of, that would probably be the thing that most people in town know about because it's the most visible from the street, and then you'll smell it and hear it and be like, oh, what's going on down there? And then, oh, cool, blacksmith. But also you do it personally with the beer making in the traditional style, in the historic
glad you brought that up. Yeah. So we have music, we have beer, we have culture. What's there not to love? So we do. We just had a couple of weeks ago at the Blueberry Festival, which is over at the Burnside Plantation, which is also a spectacular place you guys should check out.
Totally.
It's a farm in the city that's located north along the Monocacy Creek. So if you just keep going Musikfest Central and keep following the creek north, it takes you to the Burnside Plantation. We have an annual Blueberry Festival there in the middle of July. We do a colonial brewing demonstration, which shows people how beer was made by the early Moravian settlers over a wood fire, hand transferring all the liquids. We cook it, we make it, we talk about it while people are at the festival, and then we actually ferment it and enjoy it. We keg it, and we'll enjoy it with a bunch of friends and family, and hopefully the beer turns out nicely. But it's part of what we do. In historic Bethlem museums and sites is we want to show people how things were done. We have, as you mentioned, the blacksmith. We have a lot of demonstrations at Burnside. We have colonial cooks who are in the kitchen. There's a colonial garden, beautifully manicured garden with fresh vegetables and herbs and flowers. You can pick that stuff on a Saturday. We have a Saturdays at Burnside program where you point, we pick, and you get to take it home with you.
Yes, that's such great stuff there. They can learn more by going to
historicbethlehem.org. You can find out about all this, all our programs, all our tours, all our events, all our exhibitions. It's all right there.
That's great.
So thank you.
That's great. Yeah. But any recommendation for Jeff, if you like being a festival rookie, other than like stay hydrated and wear sunscreen? And I'm going to move the mic here because people did want to take a peek at your shirt. It actually says Festival Rookie.
I didn't even realize that. I saw festival and I saw the guitar.
It actually was just a dumb luck that it was a guitar that came on the shirt. I didn't make the shirt. I bought it. I can't remember what website it was. It was the only one I could find, but it just conveniently had a guitar with a little starburst behind it. I thought it was perfect. So,
it is more than perfect.
I would recommend that you try both approaches. That would be my advice.
Yeah.
Try both approaches. You're going to be here long enough. How long are you getting? 4 more days? 3 more days?
Till Monday.
All right.
Monday.
So maybe in the daytime, you just sort of travel around and get a sense and a feel for what's what and lay of the land with, you got a great tour guide here, Phil. Kind of get a lay of the land, kind of understand what it's about, and then just sort of sample little bits and pieces. But don't resist the temptation to sit. If you find something that's right in your groove, sit, enjoy it, and appreciate the fact that they're delivering something that you enjoy, and just allow yourself to sit and enjoy it, and don't feel like you have to get up and move because everybody else is.
And I think that's kind of our plan for today. Is we've got a couple bands that we definitely have on our list of we want to be there at that time, and then the rest of the time kind of wander around and listen. And I think that's the great thing about the way that this festival is set up. And I don't know if it's I guess it is the topography that you guys have here. Yes, the stages are close, but they never interfere with one another. And so you're over here in this little spot, and you're over in this little holler over here, and then behind this building, and when you're at a particular stage, you feel like that's the only place.
Yes.
And then you leave that area, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, there's another one over there.
Yes.
That's a great take.
Now I feel like this is the place.
They definitely, so it's the topography, and it's also the way they point them. Like they have used sound engineers for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the best part about it is, and the best place where this happens is Plaza Tropical and Zinsenplatz, is you don't hear it. It's not interfering. But as soon as this band's done, you can start to hear, because they're usually also like a 30-minute difference in the start times. So this one ends, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, what's that? And it's like this never-ending stream of awesome, and I think it's terrific.
It's a pretty incredible event. I mean, and it's one that I think some people take it for granted, and certainly shouldn't. And a lot of work goes into this, and sweat, and planning, and
the volunteers. You always got to talk about the volunteers.
I mean, these people are they just want to see it work, and they want to get involved. And they want to see it through, and staying late and cleaning up. I mean, those people, they're going straight to heaven. I mean,
absolutely.
At the end of the night, when everybody else is just tired, they're there.
Thank you, all the volunteers.
Yes,
there are actually, I think, a dozen that have done it all 40 years. I think there's 12 people who have done it for 40 straight years. Close this out. First, Craig, thank you so much.
Thanks,
everybody,
Phil.
go
Jeff,
to
nice
the historicbethlehem.org. Jeff Wentz, thank you for being the first rookie through. We got plenty of others, so they're going to watch this and
Thanks
be
for
able
having
to,
me.
and be able to.
I'll wash.
They got to have a T-shirt.
I'll wash a shirt after this weekend. Next year, if you're like 6'2" and 200 pounds, I have a shirt for you to wear.
Day 3 of the Daily Livestreams during Musikfest from Godfrey Daniels. Today we have cast in bronze Frank Della Penna and Max Swan. This is
your next favorite band.
Your next favorite band. That is right.
Greg Provenzo.
And Greg Provenzo is here.
Virginia.
He's been practicing.
I have been.
So yeah, a guest co-host, Greg Provenzo.
Excited guest.
Yeah. And yet another festival rookie.
Yes.
This is our third one. We had basically in as many days. You heard from festival rookie Jeff Wentz yesterday, but his first day would have been Friday. Tom Finn was here on Saturday. Greg Provenzo Sunday. Who wants to join me to be a festival rookie tomorrow? But yeah, so thank you for coming on the show. Provide some feedback and share which guests you've enjoyed. So wanted to have you on here and welcome.
Well, thank you. It's great to finally make Musikfest.
Yeah.
After a couple of years of you and I talking about it.
Of course.
I should know this. I'm jumping ahead or something, but do most of the bands, do they play multiple stages?
Not really.
Okay.
It's most of the ones I'm playing, they're going to only have one set.
Okay.
Some of what this is, and it's a good kind of segue to that topic, what we learned this morning is 2 of the bands that we picked for these 6 are part of the Charter Arts School's Musikfest marketing class, where they picked 5 bands that they were picking. Social Creatures and American Hotel System was part of that.
Okay.
So I think what happens is the class booked them, and then ArtsQuest hears it and goes, wait, they're good. Let's put them on some other stages. Because they only get 30 minutes as part of those programs. And they were probably like, oh, wait, let's spread this around. Yeah. And then that Platz stage is more for them to feature. It's usually either 1 or 2 people in the band, acoustic, kind of showing off the songwriting.
Got it.
And again, that's only like a 20, 30-minute set.
So traditionally, they won't play the same sets?
No.
Okay,
each one kind of almost has, each stage, these stages all have kind of a different feel.
Got it.
Okay. So yeah, if you're really into the band, you could come up and see all of them and kind of probably catch different things.
That's exciting.
But we're going to probably see what would be their best full band, kind of performance, if you will, on that community stage. And again, right after the Rumble, if there's anything left of Southside, we'll be able to catch American Hotel System. So we chatted about Social Creatures, American Hotel System were part of this Charter Arts music marketing class bookings. Another one that was on there was Max Swan, a Philadelphia-based saxophone player who started out with jazz but started to want to write different kind of music that features the saxophone so that it's not kind of only exclusively within the jazz genre. And we had the chance to spend some time with him on the festival stage. But what we were able to do is get the chance to talk to one of the students who was part of the class that did the bookings. So what we're going to do here is just kind of share the interview we did a little bit earlier today with the Charter Arts Music Fest marketing class, and then it kind of just brings us right into the Max Swan interview. So enjoy.
Charter School for the Arts here in Bethlhem, and my class, which is a literary arts class, was in charge of picking out bands for this year's Musikfest. We were in charge of picking the bands, booking the bands, marketing the bands, promoting the bands. We had all different teams, and that's what we did.
And you guys did such an amazing job. Like, basically, what we do is each day we pick 6 bands who we think are the must-see bands of the day. We call it the picks of the Platz. And we didn't even realize it until afterwards that 2 of the 6 we picked were from your bookings.
That's a great coincidence.
Yeah, not a coincidence. It's a talent thing. You guys clearly have a good ear for stuff. Thank you so much, Everett, for sharing the details of the program.
Of course, it was my pleasure.
Yeah, and great job again. You guys did a wonderful job.
Thank you so much.
Cool. Absolutely. Max, you want to come in? So we are super pumped to have you here today. Thank you. Absolutely. So here's Max Swan. Has been on, in my research, I did see, was referred to often as the sexy saxophone guy.
Oh, God. I'm never going to shake it.
No, I don't think so.
Never gonna
Basically, Philly-based saxophone, started out in the jazz area, but made a decision along the way to say, I'm going to write non-jazz music for the saxophone to feature that. And it's kind of in this R&B hip-hop area.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up mostly listening to and emulating vocalists on the instrument.
Yeah.
And I sang a lot in church when I was a kid.
Sure.
Stopped doing it for a while, and then when I was like later on into college, I went to University of the Arts, and started getting into like the world of rappers and singers and stuff, and producing music for them.
Yep.
And that kind of drove it in that direction where it was like, well, spending all this time enjoying music that is not jazz.
Right.
And appreciating lyrics mostly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Lyrics and great singers.
Sure.
And I, just started slowly chipping away at it. I mean, it's a constant work in progress.
Totally.
But the fact that the transition between just being a sax guy to starting to write my own stuff, produce almost exclusively for myself, it's like a new thing that has kept me fresh as a musician. In all realms. Singing informs my saxophone playing. The saxophone playing informs the chord structure that I'm going to write on. So it is a nice trade-off.
Yeah, exactly. So where did you make that decision, like, and start to just simply kind of break through those barriers?
I was spending some time. I broke my hand. I played basketball avidly, and I broke my hand going up for a rebound. So I had weeks of time where I could only practice with this hand.
That's fascinating.
So it was boring stuff, long tones, and just keeping my embouchure face still in tune was going on.
Yes.
But during that time, I started just slowly, not even taking it seriously, beginning to re-experiment with vocals and hearing a few. I mean, Donny Hathaway is one of my favorite vocalists ever.
Yeah.
And just started kind of listening through the music and with no purpose whatsoever, trying to kind of grab some of the things that he was doing, just having fun with it, you know? Because certain singers that you hear, you can, I mean, speaking for myself, I can feel what they're doing in a sense, because my instrument is so cardio based.
Yeah.
I can feel like, you can feel what they're doing with their vibrato. You can feel how they're approaching this instrument.
Yeah.
So the fascination with it built from that point forward.
Yeah.
Then I put out a couple projects where it was like 5 jazz tracks that were like heavy, like angular, modern jazz, mixed in with some of the sample-based stuff that I was messing with. And it kind of just all came together. And my friends interrupted me from releasing a project that was almost exclusively instrumental to be like, these 2 songs that you're singing on, take our word for it, don't put the shit out, and work on building on top of what you have.
That's
it. Here, which is where The Fisherman came from, which was the first album.
Right.
And then Slow Jail 2 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, when you see me smiling, it's because I want to just keep talking about this, but I know you were gracious enough to give us this much time, and you got a bolt.
Yeah.
But it just makes me want to have you on again where we can spend a full hour getting fully nerdy about all this stuff. That would be great.
Love to.
Max, such an honor to have you on today. Yeah, thank you. Cool.
So I wanted to share some Max Swan music. Here's his performance from earlier today.
Thinking about the things I'm gonna say. Early morning, cold rain, changes that I'm trying to make. Let me know when you get ready. But sometimes I know you feel like you're alone. There's a way to make it home. There's a way to make it home. Make things better. Sometimes you feel like you're alone. There's a way to make it home. There's a way to make it home. And I'll be there for you.
So there's Max Swan, saxophone, R&B, hip hop, music writer, musician. Really dig the sound.
It was excellent. Just obviously never heard him before today, but then when you were getting set up for the interview, I really appreciated. He and I were off to the side, and I got to know him or meet him personally for like 3 minutes, and I've always loved that about all these bands and all these musicians and these artists is the story behind the music, and it blows me away to hear the trials and tribulations and the effort and the sacrifices that they all put in. But his music is fantastic.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a good kind of promotion of the show. It's kind of what it's all about the rest of the year, where I agree with you. Like, that's why I even started talking with musicians, and it just kind of accidentally turned into a show. because their stories are just as compelling as their music.
Yeah. The second thing, I interrupt. The second thing, next to his music, what I appreciated the most was, and I think you mentioned it in the interview, or might have got it, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, is that, when people come up to you and say, "Oh, hey Phil, what genre is this band?" and you always hesitate because you don't want everybody to have pre-notions. And I picked that up, and you're absolutely right. It kind of hit me. And then just listening to Max's, and he said it, he's like, I just want to make beautiful music. And he obviously does.
We were super privileged to be able to get time also that we were able to spend with Frank Della Penna. So Frank Della Penna, years ago, created and performs as Cast in Bronze. And Cast in Bronze is this very, very cool, I don't know, but again, let's stay away from labels. Just a very, very cool kind of experience. He plays a carillon, which is basically an organization of bells with a keyboard. And he played Musikfest for years, and then has not been back since it's probably 2017 or something like that. And he's back this year for the first time in that many years. And we reached out, and he was open to the interview. So first, I want to give you a flavor of what Cast in Bronze is about, in case you've never seen it before. So you can see, kind of like a Phantom of the Opera-ish.
Yeah, very theatrical.
Yeah.
It seems. I mean, I know we just have this one view right here, but just sounds incredible.
It's really interesting, and you can see how hard that is to play. You actually go to college to learn how to play the carillon. He graduated in France. We were lucky enough to spend some time with Frank to learn a little bit more about the Cast in Bronze experience. So here's our interview with Frank Della Penna. We are here with Frank Della Penna, Cast in Bronze.
Cast in Bronze.
So, thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, this is
Pleasure to be here.
A super honor, and we've got the carillon behind us.
Yes.
And one of the only traveling carillons in the country, right?
There's two.
There's
two, and they're both belong to Cast in Bronze.
Got it. And so a carillon, for people, that's kind of like what would be the sound that would be maybe in a church steeple, like for a very old church.
Carillons date back about 500 years.
Yeah.
It has to have 23 or more bells attached to a keyboard.
Yeah.
So it can have any number greater than 23.
Yeah.
All right. This one has 35.
Wow.
And it's weighs about 4 tons, but it's
4 tons.
Well,
I know that's amazing.
No, it's light for a carillon.
Right.
The one I learned on was 26 tons.
Smokes.
Largest carillon in the world weighs 100 tons. In New York City.
I remember watching it one of the first times I came down, and it's this, people always be like, oh, the bell guy. And then you walk up and it's like this magical thing, because you wear an outfit, there's smoke, and it's this almost, I guess for people who haven't seen it before, kind of Phantom of the Opera-esque.
Yeah.
And then it's this beautiful music. Absolutely. And so
what made Cast in Bronze different was these instruments are tower instruments. They're usually solo instruments.
Right.
But I kept hearing the carillon play with rock instruments. So I said, well, why not?
Yeah.
So then when I put it together with other instruments, then all of a sudden people went like, oh,
right.
I get it. It's a legitimate instrument just with this really cool sound.
Yeah.
So when I put it together with drums and bass and guitar and all keys.
Phenomenal.
It worked.
Yeah. So tell us.
It wasn't supposed to.
So it wasn't supposed to work.
Not according to the colleagues of mine.
Yeah, but it did.
It did. They got really angry.
So tell us where else you've performed other than Musikfest.
Oh, God.
Like lots of amazing places.
I've done like 16,000 performances.
Yeah.
Across the country.
Yeah.
Mostly Renaissance festivals.
Sure, but also like Disney World.
I did Disney World, Busch Gardens, played for the Pope.
The Pope, right. That's what I was going to say. Like some really special things. So you got the inspiration for the carillon with the rock music. Where did you get the inspiration around like the other parts, the costuming and that kind of stuff?
I have to tell you the truth. I mean, It was just people wouldn't ask me questions during the show.
Really?
They always ask me questions during the show.
So they're like yelling out at you.
How many bells? I'm in the middle of the song. I'm in the middle of the song. So once I put the costume and mask on,
Then they kept it.
I pretended I didn't hear the questions.
Sure.
And it gave me an opportunity to do the show. And it was interesting because it's a mysterious instrument played by a mysterious player.
Right.
And I thought maybe this could work. So it took a lot of give and take. Because like when I was at Disney, I didn't have a costume.
Got it.
But I had enough of a barrier between me and the audience. But even there,
Still yelling out at
they're
you.
still yelling out at you. So once I left Disney, I decided to put the costume on.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's
You don't know whose Carolines they are.
Yeah.
Scholmericks or whose they are?
They were made. It was made in the Netherlands.
The Netherlands?
Yes, by the Pettincus and Bell Foundry.
Okay. All right.
Yes, I do know.
If there's anybody who would know, it's this guy. And that's proof right there what you're talking about.
We're right in the middle of an interview. You see, he just came in.
He just walked up, but it was a good question. So
but this is
we're
why
gonna let that
I
go.
wore the mask.
Yeah, right. Maybe I need to wear a mask. Well, Frank De La Pena, thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
I know it's like you're super busy and you've got to get ready for all this stuff, so I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
And I wish we didn't stop recording because we still chatted a little bit after we hit, done. And he said the best, funniest thing after we stopped. We were like, I think someone asked either Jeff, who was shooting that, who was on the show yesterday, or Tom, who was also with us. But someone was like, the name Caroline, where does that even come from? And he goes, whoever had called it a Caroline is an asshole. It was like this awesome moment. And he goes, why didn't you just call it a bell piano? And we all were like, yeah, that would have been much better.
Yeah.
Frank was a great talk, and people should check out Caroline.
Day 5 of the Musikfest Daily Livestreams. Today from Reese Platz, we have host of the 25 o'clock pod, Dan Drago.
Hello. Hello, everybody. I am your host, Philip Reese, and this is
your next favorite band.
I love it. I love all these guest co-hosts I have.
This is wonderful. This is a solarium. We're in a solarium.
Yes, I like that. It's Dan and I.
Here we are.
Which Dan was obviously scheduled for the show, but we're going to rip through it all together. And then, upper 70s, a little windy, but I don't think there's a chance of rain.
I think that's over at this point.
Yeah, but I did want to show his forecast, the daily forecast. Check this out.
EPA meteorologist Bobby Martich here with your outlook for August 8th, 2023. One heck of a day we had yesterday with severe weather, especially across the southern half. So I had the pleasure of being a guest on Your Next Favorite Band, our sponsor for Tuesday, for this Tuesday during Musikfest. I had a pleasure of being the guest on their Musikfest Exordium podcast last week. And this is the second straight year I've been on the podcast, since I am the representative of EPAWA, and we are the official weather providers for Musikfest. Not only Musikfest, but all of the parent company ArtsQuest's year-round activity. So anything to do with Steel Stacks or Oktoberfest or Chris Kindlemart, and everything throughout the entire year, we handle all of that. So they had me on the show talking about the weather for Musikfest. And what they do, and their goal, is to bring you literally your next favorite band. Okay, so it's both a show title and it's their promise to you. Okay,
and here we are now with Dan Drago, like you said.
Here I am.
You're the steward of Philadelphia music.
Yeah, one of them. There are many.
Understood. But let's just remind people. So you were on our show back in December, but just a real quick thing is there's the 25 o'clock podcast.
Yep.
And it's solely dedicated to Philadelphia, Philly adjacent music stories, musicians, music, supporting organizations and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I do. As years have gone by, I think I'm in my 9th year. It'll be 9 years this fall.
Yeah.
So
are you gonna, what was it? 300 episodes or
300 is coming.
Will come in the new year,
early 2024.
That is so cool. Congratulations.
No one is more surprised about 300 episodes than I am. When you start, anyone who's ever started a project or anything that keeps going, you can't think of it sometimes that way. I always tell people who want to start off and do podcasts, as just go make 2025 and don't look up. Like, just make them. Don't look at your
Yeah,
numbers.
you gave me that advice,
Don't-
when we first started chatting.
Just make it good. And then look up later and be like, oh, okay, now I can maybe.
What would
think
you
about it.
adjust? And it's a great show. It's very long form, kind of like ours, as far as just diving into the stories of these musicians and then getting to know them a whole lot more and what made them them.
Yeah.
And it's a great kind of just dedication to the Philly music scene, which is a great one. And somewhat usually under the radar for people.
Yeah. I mean, we've definitely had our breakouts over the last, every era has it. I mean, we've got the classic Philly soul era. Before that, doo-wop, Cameo Parkway Records, Dick Clark's American Bandstand was done out of West Philly. He was not the original host of Bandstand. That's a whole interesting bit of history right there about how he ends up becoming like Dick Clark. He was just a broadcaster, but they needed a young man with a squeaky clean image, and he fit the bill. I believe the building that they shot that in, the studio, still exists in West Philadelphia. And might even still have like the old school satellite dish or something on top of it. I believe now it's like a public neighborhood arts and like just multi-purpose event space, if I recall correctly. But it's like practically under the L in West Philadelphia. I haven't been in years, so someone can fact check me on this. But it was
just go with it. It's a cool story.
It was very cool when I walked into that building for the first time and like. Up along the wall, it was all like Bandstand gold records and pictures of Dick and pictures of the team. Most of those teens were like from New Jersey and Philadelphia, the ones who were on the show. I don't know why I am choosing to talk this long about American Bandstand, but
it's a really good story. Believe me, I would move you off of it if it wasn't good.
It's Philly, but just talking about like there's always been great musical acts that have broken out of Philadelphia. Todd Rundgren, Hall & Oates, the Hooters, David Bromberg, people like that. But in my tenure in Philadelphia, I got there around 03, 04, wasn't a lot going on. There were great bands and there were some great rooms, but we were kind of in between stuff. It was like just before Dr. Dog broke.
Okay.
Dr. Dog broke and kind of kicked us up another level. And then, and then at the same time you had band like Kurt Weill was playing, War on Drugs were playing. Bardo Pond had always been playing. And then, you kind of come into the next generation of indie rock. You get your bands like Hop Along, and Algin and Cadwalder, and just all these other interesting Philly bands like Mannequin Pussy and stuff like that who come out of Philadelphia. So it's always happening. We're still going strong. And now, Philadelphia artists win Grammys. War on Drugs and Japanese Breakfast. She spent a lot of her formative years playing DIY venues and basement shows in Philadelphia. And she used to be, Michelle of Japanese Breakfast used to be a coat check girl at Union Transfer.
Wow.
So it's got to be something to go back to a venue that you worked in that you've then sold out 5 nights of. And not even in I showed them, but sort of like here we are.
No, I think that is very true. But I think that the Philly music scene is worth, obviously worthy of a show, and you've done an amazing job of it. You're approaching 300 shows. Very few repeat interviews. There's a handful, and they were worthy of it, but for the most part, I would think any city might struggle with that, and you've done a great job of keeping it diverse, because even the people who come on a multiple interview, it's always because there's something new to try and reveal.
When you've been doing a show for that long, especially people that I maybe talked to in the first few years, and then they go and they keep making records, or there's a new band, or they moved and came back, and things like that. I think about someone like John Fay, sort of a Philadelphia music staple. He was a band called the Caulfields and Ike and John and Brittany and all these things. And then he just recently finally finished a memoir that he'd been working on for 5 or 6 years. I think sometimes you can get caught in the trap. And I say this as a former touring musician too. You can get caught in the trap of we got to play the big markets. Got to play New York. Got to play DC. Got to play Boston. I've played all these places up and down the East Coast, and I've had great nights in all kinds of major cities. I love playing New York City. There's juice to that. You come over the bridge, you come out the tunnel.
Oh, absolutely.
In the van with the guys, you're full of gear, and you're going to pull up to a club, and you're like, I'm going to play in New York, just like the Velvet Underground and the Ramones did.
Yes.
So there's prestige to playing big markets. But I always think of a quote from the Tragically Hip. Gord Downie always said, is like, and actually no, this is me butchering the quote. The actual line is, "What's gripping the city ain't hitting the town." But I misheard it for years as, "You're skipping the city and hitting the town."
Oh.
And so I used to use that as that was like my DIY thing right there. I was like, yeah, skip the city. Don't play New York, but play 25 miles outside New York in a small college town. It's a Tuesday today too. Like probably not the highest trafficked day.
You wouldn't think so, but it will be.
But I imagine I'm going to get. This is my first time ever going to Musikfest.
A festival rookie.
Now that I think about it, yeah. I've been to many fests, but never made it up here. And
But
again,
this one,
it's
yeah.
sort of that's on me because it's an hour and change drive.
Right.
Here. And yeah, there are tons of great bands. You guys have hipped me to so many great bands.
Oh, that's so cool.
Like a band like Slingshot Dakota that you introduced me to on the show.
Yeah.
Or even who is the young woman jazz singer?
Oh, Corinne Mamana. We're going to play her in a little bit.
That was outstanding.
Yeah.
And I love that stuff too. Like I'm an indie rock guy and I'm a psych rock guy and all that, but I like a good I like a good torch singer.
Right, exactly. And that's the level of talent that we have here. So we have all these genres covered. That's one privilege. And then they all happen to be also quite exceptional at it.
Yeah.
It's like mind-blowing how lucky we are. So isn't that incredible?
I've always been taken with that style of acoustic guitar playing right there. It's such a remarkable way about playing the instrument because it is kind of a big wooden drum, as well as being a tonal instrument.
Yep.
I've been fortunate to help produce records by a couple of guitar players who play in this style, and it's just you never kind of stop wowing.
Oh, totally. And then it kind of turns into this awesome.
Ooh, there we go.
So I really hope that this is, if I had a request, I always would want to see this one because it's almost like it's a performance art as much as it's a song. I mean, it's so cool.
And it just goes to show if you just do one thing a little differently from everyone else, and it's an authentic thing that you do, then like there you go. You're gonna win fans' hearts and minds as they call it.
Yeah. So before we wrap, speaking of brothers who are awesome in recording studios, why don't we promote 1809 Studio?
1809 Studios in Rochester, outside Rochester, New York, is my brother's recording studio.
Yep.
And he's produced many great bands, some of which have appeared on your show. He worked largely with Sean Barna, who you just had on. And
correct.
Sean Barna's records are amazing.
Awesome.
He's an amazing songwriter
Yep.
and a truly unique songwriter. I've talked to my brother and we've talked about it because I always tell him, I just joke him, I go, "You still want to be in the artist management game right now?" I said, it's so difficult. It's such a thankless task. And he put it to me, he goes, "There's a lot of artists out there who think they have something to say, but then you hear it and you're just like, okay, you just may be repeating things in a different way." He says, "I will work with Sean and an artist like Sean any day of the week because ain't nothing like it."
No, and that's even when I reached out to ask him to come on the show, which I do a lot and don't expect a response because I didn't get to shake their hand after a show and introduce who I was.
Yeah.
Just an email coming out of nowhere. So when he said, yeah, sure, I was just like, couldn't wait to just talk to him for that very reason, because he's writing music like no one else is, telling stories like no one else is, and the same kind of thing. I'll bring that type of person on the show all day long.
I had him on the show back before he even lived in Philadelphia, when he was still splitting his time between New York and Washington, D.C. He lives in Philadelphia right now. He lives kind of adjacent to my neighborhood as well. See him out walking dogs every once in a while. But it's like the last... like 3 EPs from Sean are outstanding. And he's signed to Kill Rock Stars, which is a label with amazing pedigree. And Kill Rock Stars has had a bit of a field day in Philadelphia lately because they signed Shamir, who is an outstanding songwriter and guitar player, and signed Ron Gallo, who used to be in a band called Toy Soldiers, who when I was in bands, we shared many a stage
very cool.
with Toy Soldiers. Ron has also worked with my brother at 1809 Studios. But it was just so funny when I saw this kind of like run of artists on Kill Rock Stars. I was like, Kill Rock Stars, you might need to open a Philadelphia office if you want to keep signing all these great bands from Philadelphia. We've had a handful of other Philadelphia bands. I don't know how many we've shared, but like definitely, I mean, you've had Emily Drinker on.
Yes.
You've had, have you had Brittany Ann on yet?
Not yet. She'll be on. We spoke this January. She wanted to hold. I think she's releasing new music. Ryan Tennis. He's another Philly-based artist that we've had on.
Yeah, and I know you talked to Will from
Will Donnelly, Loca
Connie's band.
Tisbury's Shug Daniels.
Oh, Shug.
Yeah.
Shug is also my neighbor. South Philadelphia's the place to be.
It sure is.
Yeah.
And it's time for us to go down and fest.
There we go. Let us fest.
All right, Phil, let's say goodbye to everybody.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Your Next Favorite Band. We'd like to sincerely thank, first and foremost, our hosts for the week of Musikfest, Godfrey Daniels. Such a great space for us to arrange to have guests meet us at for that week. It's such a cool space, great acoustics, and so appreciate their support throughout the festival and actually throughout the year. We'll be doing our Winter Wonder Jam episode there again later this year. Also want to thank Managing Director of Godfrey Daniels, Ramona LaBarre, for coming on the show and for sharing the latest updates of what's available there. Hope that you would consider becoming a member so that you can support them through that, or at a minimum, catching a show. Check out godfreydaniels.org to see what they've got in store. Also want to thank Ryan Hill, Addison Teal-Young from ArtsQuest for coming on to share what the festival was offering from a comedy perspective, as well as the accessibility and inclusion offerings that they're starting to really build out, which is wonderful. To learn more, check out that and Accessible Festivals, their organization that they use to help them out with all of that. Also want to thank Craig Larimer from Historic Bethlem Museum and Sites. He's the director of marketing there, and they've got such cool things, so certainly got our fingers crossed for the UNESCO historic site, but also just all the other great offerings that Bethlem gives you there to catch a peek into the window of their history. Want to thank the festival rookies Jeff Wentz and Greg Provenzo for helping us along the way, as well as Max Swan, saxophonist from Philadelphia, who will be coming on the show in the fall, so stay tuned for the interview with him. Frank Della Penna, cast in bronze, wonderful interview there. Great to welcome him back to the festival. And lastly, my good buddy Dan Drago, 25 O'Clock Pod. So happy to have him on. So thank you all, and get ready for part 2.